In this lecture, we are going to talk about how do we critique a research article. So, firstly, we are going to see the objectives of a journal club. So, it is to understand the article and appreciate the good aspects of the article so that we can replicate them in our own research work and critique the poor aspects of the article. Few terminologies related to journal club I have discussed in my previous lecture, which you can find using this link. Now, before starting, let us first understand the meaning of two terms, critical appraisal and critical reflection. So, what is critical appraisal? When we are assessing the scientific quality of the article, when we are saying that whether the study design is correct or not, the study methods which are used are correct or not, the statistical analysis, the tests they have used, are they correct or not? This assessment is known as critical appraisal. And critical reflection is to judge and discuss the implications of the study for the world outside the study. Okay, so now we are going to see the sections of an article one by one. Okay, so we are going to see the title, abstract, the keywords, whether these are mesh terms or not, then the introduction, material and methods, results and discussion, which is known as the MRAD format, then the conclusion and references. Other sections which are there in an article include conflict of interest, sources of funding, strengths, limitations, and recommendations. So, before we start the critical appraisal of an article, we can take good help of the checklists which are available on this website of Equator. So, I've mentioned the reporting guidelines for the main types of studies in my previous lecture, which you can see using this link. On the right side, you can see what are the reporting guidelines for different articles which are available on the Equator website. Also, if you are not sure which checklist should be used for the study you are seeing, you can use this reporting guideline decision tree which is available on Equator. Then, firstly, we'll see about the title. The title is a one-line description of the study. We have to assess whether it is specific and apt. We'll see whether the research question is mentioned or not in the title. So, the research question we'll see with the help of PICO. Whether the population is mentioned, if it is a randomized control trial, whether the intervention comparison group are mentioned and the outcome is mentioned or not. Now, the titles are of three types: declarative, which makes a declaration and summarizes the study and its results. For example, magnesium doping in metal oxide layers improves the solar cell efficiency. This is a declarative title. Then we have descriptive title, which describes the study but does not reveal its results. Example, effects of magnesium doping in metal oxide layers on efficiency of solar cells. This is a descriptive title. Then we have the interrogative title. Interrogative title poses the research in form of a question. Okay? So the example is, can the efficiency of solar cells be improved by magnesium doping in metal oxide layers? Next, we come to abstract. It is the study described in a paragraph. It will tell what are the highlights and the key findings of the study. Now, this abstract is also of few types. So, first is either structured or unstructured abstract is there. Structured abstract is having distinct labeled sections. The abstract will be given in the form of background, aims and objectives, methods, results. Okay, for rapid comprehension. And unstructured abstract will be in the form of a single paragraph which briefly will summarize the main sections of the research paper. Then other types are informative, indicative and combination abstract. Informative abstract is usually for original research work. This will be having 100 to 250 words with the aims, objectives, methods, result, and conclusion mentioned. An indicative abstract is usually for long articles, like for reviews, review of reviews, umbrella reviews, and meta analysis. Then, below the abstract, I mentioned the keywords, which usually should be the mesh terms. For searching for the mesh terms, we have a mesh browser. Okay, so when we want to see whether the term mentioned in the keywords is a mesh term or not, you can use this website which is mentioned over here. Go to this website, type the keyword which is mentioned, and it will reveal whether it is a mesh term or not. What is a mesh term? It is explained clearly in the previous lecture of terminologies related to journal club. You can refer to that lecture for this. Then we have introduction. Introduction is mentioned in the form of a funnel, which will have an opening, body, termination. So the opening will be there, which will tell about the nature and magnitude of the problem. Then the body will have the review of literature. Current knowledge about the problem will be mentioned. Then we'll mention the gaps in the existing knowledge, the need for the study, and then we mention the clear objectives and hypothesis. This is how we explain the introduction. Okay. So the structure of the introduction is in the form of a funnel shape format. Then again, like we had types of titles and types of abstract, we have the approaches for introduction. First is the seminar approach. Seminar approach is one in which we are clearly explaining the things in a seminar kind of format. Okay. For example, post-lunch time amnesia in hospital doctors is characterized by a severe loss of memory 1 hour after consuming meal of more than 87.3 calories taken between 12 and 1:45 p.m. This is a kind of seminar approach. Next, we have the NDR approach, which is much discussion recently. Okay. So, for example, we take there has been much discussion recently about the incidence and importance of post-lunchtime amnesia in hospital doctors. This represents NDR approach. And the third is the alarmistic approach, in which alarmingly we are telling about a situation. For example, post-lunchtime amnesia kills 3,000 people a year in UK. This represents alarmistic approach. Now this was about introduction, and now we come to materials and methods, which gives information about the study setting, the study design, study population, duration of the study, the tools which have been used, about the inclusion and exclusion criteria, then about the sample size calculation, which formula has been used, the sampling technique, the randomization if it is a randomized control trial, and about the statistical tests and the analysis. So while assessing the methodology, look for the internal and the external validity of the study. Okay. So the internal validity will be assessed by the study tools, whether they are correct or not, whether there is any kind of bias which you expect, and the statistical analysis. Okay. Then the external validity, it will tell accuracy when the study is extrapolated to the target population. Okay. So the external validity is seen with the sample size calculation, the sampling technique, and the randomization. Then we come to the results. We are going to see whether all the objectives which were mentioned initially, have they been answered in the result or not. The data which they have represented in the result, whether in the form of tables or figures, whether it is a correct representation, whether these tables and figures are self-explanatory or not, and the tests which they have used are correct or not. And then we'll see about the discussion. The purpose of this discussion is for the proper interpretation of results. We are going to interpret the results over here, and we are going to mention the biological plausibility of the hypothesis which the study had stated. We'll see whether there was any kind of bias or confounders, the strengths and limitations of the study, whether they have been mentioned or not, and the comparison with other studies is done in this part of the article. Then, in the end, future directions or recommendations are mentioned. Then we come to conclusion. Conclusion will answer to the objectives and what next is expected with the study. Has it been answered or not? We have to see in the conclusion. Then we come to references. We see what style of references they have used, whether it is same all throughout, and any mismatch if it is there. Okay, so this is the way we critique a research paper. In the next lecture, I am going to give more detail about how to critique a randomized controlled trial research paper. With an example, I am going to explain each and every part in detail. Thank you.